Alrighty, everybody. So today I'm going to be sharing 3 steps to increasing show rates to your appointments and how to improve the quality of those appointments as well. Okay, so if this is something you struggle with, like no-shows, something you deal with a lot, and also getting on the phone with like crappy quality leads. Hopefully this video and everything I'm going to share with you throughout is actually going to help you get some clarity over what to do to fix it. So let's just dive straight into it. So just before we dive into the nuts and bolts of this, just so your expectations are realistic, you're always going to have no-shows. Like there's no 100% way to eliminate them. It's just doesn't exist, okay? But you can reduce them. Okay, you can reduce the odds and chances of them occurring, and that's what we're going to focus on. Okay, because like obviously, if you can reduce no-shows and plus also improve the quality of those appointments you're getting, that it reduces that opportunity cost. Every time you're getting lots of no-shows, you're missing out on opportunities. All right, so the reason why we want to reduce no-shows is to reduce that opportunity cost. So how do we do it? It's honestly pretty simple. There's a couple sort of practical things you can be doing that you may or may not be aware of already. Or maybe, what I'm going to share will give you a couple sort of ways to improve what you're doing. So basically what I'm going to share is just a couple practical steps you can implement to actually reduce those no-shows and hopefully improve the quality of the appointments you do get as well. Okay, so let's get into it. So there's really 3 things I want to focus on to actually achieve this. The first one here is like your typical reminder automation sequence. So, everyone's pretty much aware of this for the most part anyway. But I'm just going to share with you sort of my process for this, what I do personally. So typically like your reminder automation sequence. So once someone books, you need to have like some software. So I use Calendly, so I'm going to explain it from that point of view of using Calendly, but you can pretty much do this with, I'm sure, most appointments, scheduling systems, whatever you want to call them. So this is how I do it. There's really like 3 parts to my reminder automation sequence process. 1 is reminders, 2 is like pre-sales nurturing, and 3 is like a workflow, but the workflow kind of ties into the pre-sales nurture. I'll explain that in my Calendly account shortly. Reminders, pretty much everyone's aware of this. This is how I do it. So I use SMS and email reminders, okay? So 3 days, 24 hours and 1 hour. And you can even do it like 10 minutes before as well. I don't do that, but I know some people do that. This is just how I've got it set up. So this is pretty easy to do. So I'll jump in. So this is the event I use for my cold email campaigns. Where's the thingy? So basically, you got your email reminders here, text reminders. Pretty simple shit to do, to be honest. Calendly just does pretty much all of it for you. The only thing I changed with this is like this text here. I added that in. And there you can see my schedule, text reminders again. So this is, pretty straightforward stuff, really. Really what I want to try and get across to you with this is actually where we come back, pre-sales nurturing. So this is huge. Like this is a huge part. Like, because when you're doing outbound lead gen, cold email, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. Like you're dealing with prospects who've never heard of you before. There's not going to be a lot of trust there, likability, anything like that, because they're cold, right? They're a cold prospect who has, you're reaching out from cold. They don't know you from a bar. So pre-sales nurturing is a really important thing to be adding in to your reminder automation sequence. See, most people are doing this. Most people are already doing this because everyone knows about it. But what I find not everyone is doing this as part of their reminder automation sequence. So the way you do it is you want to have like a short video presentation that just explains your service, like, who you are, what you do, what's your process to results, like explaining the, 3, 4, 5 steps involved in your process to results for the client. Who you're targeting, how you do it, common questions, things like that. So it's just like a video sales presentation you service. So the one I have, it's about like 15 minutes. And basically it just covers all those things, and that's just for my like done for you appointment setting services. So the way you use it as part of your pre-sales nurturing is, the idea here is that you want them to watch this video before they actually jump on the phone. And granted, not everyone's going to watch it, but the most serious leads will watch it, and it makes them warmer and more likely to show up as well, especially because they know what they're going to get. They're more excited for the call, basically, because the video's showing them, what you can do, the kind of results you can get. Maybe it's got a case study in there, whatever. So it just makes your sales calls much more effective, and it helps to nurture and warm that lead up. All right, so it's really important. And you want to add this in as part of your reminders. Okay, and this is what I find a lot of people don't do. So this is pretty easy. So once you actually got like a video presentation created, so as you can see here in my reminders, I've literally just added this in here. Okay, so they got a link to it's a Loom video I created that just explains everything I just went through in terms of what we do and whatnot. And then so they'll get this 3 days before the event, 1 day before, and then 1 hour before. And so hopefully by then, granted, not everyone watches it, but a portion do. In an ideal world, everyone's watched it, okay? So then they come into the call knowing more about what you do. So you want to really incorporate pre-sales nurturing as part of your reminders, and you can just do that really simply. All you do is create the presentation and then just add the text into your reminders on Calendly. It's done. Now, the other thing you can do, which is a workflow, okay? You can also utilize this as part of your reminder automation sequence. Again, I do this within Calendly as well. Now, the way that looks, where is it? Show you, I've only got one I use. So basically, this workflow. So basically, as soon as someone books that event through, my outbound campaigns, as you can see here, you set up like the trigger. So immediately when a new event's scheduled, you pick what the event's for. Obviously, there you can see. And what happens is, so as soon as they book it, they get sent this. So I've customized this, and pretty short and sweet. So it's basically just, telling them, pretty straightforward, to be honest. And again, it's just telling them to watch the video. Because that's what I want. I want them to watch that video, so then they're warmer when they get on the call with me, because then it's like, it bridges that gap of like, not knowing who you are, not trusting you. It just bridges it to be a bit closer towards them actually trusting you and liking you and whatnot. Just making your sales calls go a lot more effectively. So that's pretty much how I do it, okay? So it goes, basically my process is like, when they book the event with me, they get sent this straight away, and it's telling them to watch my video presentation. All right, so that's easy stuff. Then there's 3 reminders that go out. One that goes out 1 day and 1 hour before. And again, as you saw in those reminders, it's just putting like a, getting their attention to make sure they watch that video in advance. So that's how I basically do it, okay? And like I said, pretty much most people I know do it like this. They just do like, the daily sort of hourly SMS and email reminders. But you can really take it to another level by adding in pre-sales nurturing, which I highly recommend you do. It's just like so much more effective. So that's the first thing you can do to reduce no-shows and improve the quality of your appointments, all right? Second thing, manual reminders in addition to your typical reminder automation sequence. So just to be fully honest with you, I don't always do this. Sometimes I just forget or get way too busy. But this is a very effective way to weed out last minute cancellations or no-shows. So what you do, either like the day before or like, an hour, even half an hour before the call, if you're like friends with them on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever, or you can even just send an email. Yeah, you just literally send something like this. Hey, so-and-so, literally just send something like that. And that'll often weed out like last, minute cancellations or no-shows. People will just be like, oh, yeah, I'm good to go, looking forward to it. Or they'll be like, oh, yeah, actually, can we reschedule? So pretty straightforward, but that's another thing you can do to kind of just weed out those last minute, really annoying sort of cancellations and no-shows. That's something I'd recommend you do as well. So that's the second thing. Last thing, now this one's a bit more complex, I must admit, because to be honest, in my opinion, usually, like if you're getting a lot of no-shows, in my opinion, it's probably more to do with this, what I'm going to talk about, than the first two things. Because really, in my opinion, most of the time when you're getting no-shows, and this is like something you constantly struggle with, or even like quality of your sales calls, it's a prospecting issue. That simply means that there was not enough interest to begin with to like attend the call, even though they've booked. This kind of like doesn't make sense in a way because they've like booked it. It's like, well, why the fuck are you booking it if you've got no interest? But also that there's got to be a strong enough interest to actually show up to. Okay. And what I find probably the biggest thing is, it's definitely more a prospecting issue than like whether you have reminders and things like that set up. Now, what do I mean by this? So basically, this really comes down to like your outreach and like your messaging, like the offer and your targeting. It's just like it hasn't generated enough interest. Okay. So like your offer, for example, maybe like it's not targeting a big enough pain point to them. And like the solution might not be exactly what they're kind of like hoping for, looking for. Okay, because your offer really, it needs to be like so good that they're kind of just thinking when they read your initial message, they're thinking, holy shit, like this sounds like something I need to learn more about. And the way you create that kind of emotional response is by like making sure you're targeting like the specific pain point or challenge in that market, and that you've got like an actual solution to fixing it and then getting them a result and outcome. Because if your messaging is not like communicating those things, it's like there's not going to be as much interest as there otherwise could be. And I find that a lot of times, like when I see people who are getting a lot of no-shows and then I look at their messaging, it's usually because it's honestly just like weak offers. And then because of that, like the prospects kind of doesn't have as much urgency as what they should have to actually attend the call. Because like you think about it, if you're targeting like a big enough pain point and your offer in your messaging is communicated in a way that's like really compelling, like why wouldn't they attend the call? Like they're going to attend the fucking call because they want to find out what it's all about, right? So this is like a huge part of it, your offer and your messaging. Okay. The other part of this is the targeting. Because I'm a firm believer, like qualification starts like before you even reach out. And by that, I mean, like, it starts with how you build your list of prospects. Like, you need to be building a list of prospects that are going to be most likely to be susceptible to even be interested in your offer. And that's going to, like, it's going to vary for every business, for example. Like, you need to sort of ask yourself the question, in my entire target market, which specific types of prospects are going to be more likely to be interested in this offer than the other prospects in my target market. And you want to go really deep and get clarity around that and then build the list of prospects that specifically matches it. Okay. Like that's a really like important part of it because like the targeting is huge, okay? Because it's one thing to have the targeting, then it's another thing to have like both the targeting plus the offer and the message all like matching together. So if you've built out, a list of prospects that like matches what you're looking for exactly, who you've deemed to be more interested, not the most susceptible for whatever criteria it is you're looking for, and then you put that offer and message in front of them, then the interest is going to be, it's going to be much like stronger. There's going to be much more urgency to actually jump on the actual call and the appointment. And that, this out of those three things I've just covered, this is probably the one thing that like will determine the quality of your appointment. The first two things I covered, they're more about just like practical things to make sure someone doesn't forget, or that there's still like the excitement because of the pre-sales nurturing, things like that. Whereas I think it really, in terms of the quality, making sure you're getting the right people on the phone with you, it's really going to come down to this like prospecting, which is like the offer, the messaging, the kind of prospects you build out in your list. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, that's probably the biggest thing out of all three is this. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully that helps, gives you some clarity around this. Like I said, you'll never completely eliminate no-shows, but if you do those like three things I've just covered, you will reduce them quite significantly. Of that, I am like 100% sure of. Okay, so if you're getting a lot of no-shows, I would like just take a look at those three things I've covered and really see where like you're actually lacking, so you actually know what to sort of focus on to improve, to actually reduce that no-show rate, reduce that opportunity cost, and boost the quality of your appointments as well. So I hope you get some value out of it. Keep prospecting. Got any questions, drop a comment below. If you want to book a chat with me to, get more advanced insights and help, my personalized help with this, there's a link down below as well. All right, thanks guys. See you on the next bit.